racing simulator provided by Next Level Racing and their new 2-in-1 F1 GT cockpit. Whether you like the upright GT seating position or low-slung F1 seating position, the F1 GT has you covered at a price that won't break the bank. Learn more at nextlevelracing.com. Hey, this car in front of me is sponsored by FIFA 17 by EA Sports. Fascinating. Anyway, welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm John Sable, and today we're doing a 20-minute race from Bathurst in the GT3 car in RaceRoom. Not RaceRoom Racing Experience. They don't do that anymore. So, hopefully, the racing will be enjoyment, whatever. But the real point of this video is I want to show off the latest features, or at least talk about the latest features in RaceRoom, because they had a major update this past week. With the biggest thing of note, at least for some users out there like me, is that RaceRoom now has triple screen support. So, in the past, I had referenced RaceRoom as, well, it's almost Christmas time, so I put them on the naughty list when it came to triple screen support. If we did a video, earlier this year, I remember when, called with a Sim Racing Explains Triple Screen Support, where I noted RaceRoom as a title that doesn't have triple screen support. Triple screen support being that all three of the monitors are rendered separately. Now just taking one image and stretching across three monitors, which causes massive stretching on the side monitors and looks terrible. I mean, the side mirror is like going all the way down your screen. And it's just not very pretty to look at. And it's one of those things where it can be, it can really be a deal breaker with someone who's gone and invested the money in having a triple screen set up. It's along the same lines as like VR, where there's people out there that invested in VR. First gear here is probably a bad idea. And when a title doesn't have VR, then it's pretty much a deal breaker. It's a pass. So while I could always race in RaceRoom, that was close. It wasn't always my favorite experience or thing to do, to go and either race with very stretched side monitors or turn the side monitors off. All kind of defeats the purpose. But thankfully now, many years down the road, and even after VR implementation, RaceRoom, Sector 3 Studios has added triple screen support. And I'm very happy to, I wasn't happy about that, happy to report that it's done pretty darn well. So this is something like, Sector 3 Studios didn't name it as like a beta version of triple screen support, but they did, oh man, good battle here. But they did know that this kind of isn't all polished. I think it really comes down to they just don't have the user interface all fixed, or fixed, I guess, all integrated. So to get triple screen support working, you have to do a little leg work at the moment. Man, this guy is trying to run me over as I try to go to the first gear, and the game complains to me about shifting too early. So instead of going into the game, into the UI and adjusting settings, you have to go over to Steam and to RaceRoom in Steam, right-click on Properties, and enter in some numbers. Now, there's a really nice write-up that Sector 3 Studios did. Are we gonna stop? Maybe. That was a first gear mercy at the end. So it's a nice write-up they did over in their forums that explains how to get it all set up. And essentially what you're doing there in Steam is what you do in the game. You enter how far away from the screen you are, how wide the screen is, how tall it is, how wide the bezels are, what angle it's at, and you just type it all in. And the nice thing is, it doesn't care what units you use. So there's games out there that make you go and use centimeters, and being in the US and us going with the good old Imperial units, it's kind of annoying going and measuring everything in inches and then having to go and take it over to the metric system. So it doesn't care. Inches, millimeters, centimeters, kilometers, miles. As long as you're consistent, it doesn't care. So I do really like that. So anyway, you punch those numbers in, and I, from there, jumped into the game, and this is what I got. Now, I did go and do some tweaking in terms of my seating position, and also field of view. In that same forum post, Sector 3 says that you should probably go and map those couple settings to your wheels so you can play around with them. I've already gone and done that. I got myself in pretty much where I race in any game that has triple screen support, where I try to get myself really closer up to the car. That was a really terrible turn. I'm running default setup here, and it's definitely on the understeer side. In that last corner there, the AI is set to 101%, is kicking my ass. So that's me trying to hustle through. But anyway, fired up the game, and I beat him there. Anyway, fired up the game, and it just worked. I mean, it worked out really great. There's plenty of other times I fired up the game after putting in my triple screen settings, and things are just misaligned, and it's not right, and you gotta go in there and do a bunch of minor tweaking, but I didn't have that at all. I mean, this just seems to work, which is very refreshing. And what a big difference it is from when you don't have the support. Just being able to go and have the mirrors be the right size, and just all looks so much better, and the look I've always wanted in RaceRoom. So very exciting. On the graphics front, I did go and I had to turn down the graphics a little bit. Had them up pretty high, but of course, like I mentioned earlier, when you go from rendering one image to rendering 3, it takes a little more graphics power, so that's the case in pretty much every title, that you gotta go and turn down some of your graphical settings and the eye candy a little bit. Whoa! This is quite the race for Elite. In my case, I'm averaging about 80 frames per second here, which isn't too bad. I like to be up in triple digits if I can, but it seems to be running pretty smoothly. Now, I do want to note that even though I'm not having any issues with it, I was checking out the forum post, and there are folks out there that were getting a little bit of micro stuttering. And this kind of leads us to our next topic, and that is some of the other updates that came with the triple screen update. And the next, probably most important one, is now RaceRoom has a 64-bit version. And what a 64-bit version of any software allows you to do is it allows you to take advantage of more of your system's memory or RAM. And when you're only at 32 bits, you can only use 4 gigabytes, which these days isn't a lot. I mean, I feel like a lot of people default to 8, and if you're in sim racing, you should at the very least have 8. And I mean, to be honest, you're probably fine at 8. I have 16 in my system, so now because there's a 64-bit version of the game, you select that when you start up the game, and that's what I'm running at. So instead of only utilizing 4, which also Windows 10 will utilize a fair amount of that, so you're not even getting 4 to the game. Now you can utilize whatever the game wants to utilize. So that is an important update. But between this and the 64 bits, there's some people, having some micro stuttering issues. I didn't have any issues from the beginning with this new build, but I did go ahead and do something that some of them were talking about that might help, and I went ahead and updated Windows 10, there's an update 1079, if I remember correct off the top of my head. That is the fall creators update to Windows 10, a pretty substantial update, and there was some thought that that update just kind of sitting there while the game was going and possibly trying to load was causing some issues. So I went ahead and I did an update because it's a big update, and there are some improvements there, or some things of note that might affect sim racing. I got another video that I want to do that talks a little more into that. But anyway, took a while, did the update, came back. I didn't notice any performance difference myself on my PC, but as is the case in PCs, no two are alike, so your mileage may vary. Man, this is a hell of a battle. But anyway, like I said, no issue with micro stuttering here. Everything's been running pretty well. Ooh, ooh. Also, one thing back to the 64-bit and the RAM topic, well, where that might come in handy is I'm running a full field of cars here at Bathurst, which is 35, 36, I think 36 with me. So, yeah, that definitely helps when you have large car counts. And RaceRoom does allow you to do like 100 cars on some tracks. So, very helpful to go on the 64-bit. Let's see, other updates in this build include official support for the Thrustmaster TS XW Racer. Whoa, almost got squeezed there. Which just so happens to be, yeah buddy, I'm not happy about that, the wheel that I am using. Hold on. Car does not like that that corner. So yep, official support for TS XW Racer. And then some other things of note is they changed the progression of the track state a little bit. So I went and I just jumped in. Come back. I just jumped in a race. This isn't a race weekend. This is me jumping in a race and doing it to show off these things for you. But anyway, during a race weekend now, the track progresses from practice to qualifying to the race, where it essentially rubbers in and speeds up, gains more grip. So that is cool to see. They also adjusted how much grip your tires lose when you go and you drive off the racing line. So at some point along development, I'm not even sure when at this point, there's been so many updates to these games that kind of like just constantly update. They had it where, oh, I'm so much faster than the AI in that corner. They have it where you lose grip offline, which makes sense, but I guess it was a little bit severe. So now they've gone and they've lowered that a bit. If you run off the racing line, I think they decrease the lack of grip by 10%. They give you, I guess, 10% more grip back. And then if you go and you run wide on, say, some tarmac that's like a paved area, think Tilco track, where they pave miles of it. So if you run way off the track, or you get onto some of the AstroTurf, runoff, things like that, now they've slowed down that progression by 80%. Your tires getting dirty. So, oh, 3 wide, turn 2, Bathurst, what could go wrong? So that is an interesting update. Kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, let's punish people for running off the road, and then you implement it and you get feedback, and it's like, oh, this is maybe a little too severe. So that's an update to the racing. Another update to the racing that is pertinent to what I'm currently doing, and that is the GT3 cars received a physics and tire model update. And I have to say, driving this race and some other practice races I ran, these cars feel good. I mean, I'm just kind of blown away in sim racing across the board these days. Different titles, and just how good, I know, I'm shifting too early, how good the cars feel. And RaceRoom's been working on a lot of the let's say, the driving elements for a while with force feedback updates that came online. I think it was last year now. And it's been physics and tire improvements, and this continues on. And yeah, I mean, these cars feel nice. I mean, they feel like what you hear when people talk about these cars in real life, and that they're GT3 cars, not the hardest cars to drive. You get the driver aids and whatnot, and you can just I guess I gotta start back up my corners. You can just go and drive these things, and for the most part they're pretty stuck, but there are times they do, break free. I mean, you've seen in those slow corners this big Mercedes AMG struggling to put traction down. So yeah, whatever they're doing, I like it. It feels good. And then something else that's been updated and was as I run wide there. Okay, we're just gonna do this. Shit. This is when you restart.
Gunzoman!
Okay, where was I before I believed I was wrecked by the AI? Or maybe I messed up. I'm not sure, but either way, I didn't expect that, and I wasn't going to redo all the things I just talked about. So, let's start over, which is the magic of offline racing, which, to be fair, is one of my favorite things about RaceRoom, the offline racing, which is exactly what I was getting to. That's why this is so funny, is I was getting to the AI part of the release notes, because it wouldn't be an update in any sim racing title without an update to AI. And also part of the reason why I came to Bathurst is because, I mean, if you want to test AI, this is a good place to do it. Close confines. So, the AI improvements to RaceRoom in this build. I can't believe it got wrecked when I was about to talk about AI. Oh, that Corvette's on the inside. So, all this stuff is being exhibited perfectly here. Whoa! AI. I'm so amused by this. Okay, reset. So, update list. At the beginning of races now, the AI cars are less likely to go over the track limit to make positions up. Something that you don't really see here at Bathurst, because we got grass on each side, but I assume some other circuits where you have a little more room to race, they tend to wander off and do that. Like I said, I haven't really seen it much myself, but I tend to race the racetracks that don't have miles and miles and miles of runoff. I don't think I'm going to stop. So there's that. And then, also, the AI have become less aggressive, it sounds like, at the beginning of races when you're in a big pack. They've become a little nicer to deal with. So, that's a positive. And as we saw in the previous race, before the restart, they seem to be doing that. So that's nice. Another update is, now when you are racing an AI car, like door-to-door type racing, the game is giving more, it almost sounds like data. They're putting more effort into the spatial awareness of that car versus the other AI cars that are out on track. So that's an interesting one. That they can, I don't know, just kind of an interesting thing. Something I never really thought about. You think they just set the AI settings and they all do that and they kind of race everyone the same. But it sounds like maybe they race you, the player, a little better than the other AI cars. They give you a little respect. Put a little respect on it. So, that's kind of neat. And I have to say, up until when I wrecked, whoever's fault that was, I was really liking what I was seeing out of the AI car. Even though I don't like how they are all hail happy going through the downhill there. But besides that, I think they've been behaving pretty well in a very challenging situation. Something else of note that was, again, kind of another AI update. They're like, oh, that's fascinating. Is if an AI car has an issue, like an engine expires or something, they will go and pull off the side of the road in the grass, and I have seen this in a practice session, by the way. And then they will sit there for like, I think it's like 30 seconds or something, and then the car will disappear off the track. So that's getting pretty clever, where now the AI cars are, you know, doing what you should do, pulling off the track and out of off the racing line. By the way, I love the chrome effect of this car. That's something that a lot of titles do not do correctly, chrome. And, well, two examples here, between that Mercedes and the McLaren up there, the chrome being done really well. So yeah, those are the AI improvements, I believe, off the top of my head. And, again, I feel like, for the most part, they worked pretty well, and this race has shown it. Besides that whole wrecking part. But you know, sometimes that's racing. Real people are gonna dump you as well. So now that I've restarted the race, I don't think I'm gonna run this entire thing, but I do want to kind of put a pin on some thoughts of this update and kind of RaceRoom in general. That's what we do around here. It's how many of you guys actually want to see me drive? That's no fun. RaceRoom has been what I like to call my side piece. It's a title that I don't run day in and day out, admittedly. I hadn't fired it up since essentially the last update. We did a video of the Formula whatever cars at Imola. But when I come to RaceRoom, I always have a good time. And particularly my use of RaceRoom is offline. I feel like there's some other titles. I'm saying this like this is a revelation. There are other titles that I feel like do the online racing aspect better. And more titles as we go. As hell. We've had a bunch of new titles here recently, and one and maybe two of them do a nice job of online racing. But when it comes to racing offline, jumping into a race, maybe not messing too much with the setups, I'll do a little bit of that, but for the most part I'm just kind of jumping in, setting the AI to level that makes it competitive with me with the base setup or a slightly tweaked setup. RaceRoom is hard to beat. I mean, it has a lot going for it, and the AI is just some of the better AI out there, no question. Sounds are great. Something else I think gets lost a little bit in the noise in sim racing is RaceRoom now, at this point of it in its maturity, is a really well-rounded game. I mean, it just doesn't have a bunch of holes. There are games out there that have, points of enjoyment, but also have a lot of holes in terms of like content. But RaceRoom has a bunch of tracks, a bunch of cars, and usually a bunch of cars in one class, so you get good variety. I mean, GT3 is not the best example because these days in other titles, I feel like they all have a bunch of GT3 cars. But I mean, there's a lot of series you can pick up and say, I'm gonna run this class of car and have nice variety and go to a nice variety of tracks, not laser scan, but really, jeez. as I wrecked that guy. But anyway, they're really well done. I mean, in terms of non-laser scan tracks, I mean, it really doesn't get any better than this, in my opinion. So yeah, there's just a lot that the game offers. And also, one thing that's really important, one thing that, whoops, the wheels are off. Mistakes left and right. One thing that's really nice, as I'm praising RaceRoom, I'm also showing off the damage model, which is realistic, and I'm just running amok and things that would normally damage my car. The game now is kind of at a more reasonable price point. For a long time, it was the kind of iRacing system of buying individual content. I still hate the VRP system or whatever they use. But now you can go and you can purchase the entire game for I think it's like 65 euros. And that's a good price. For what you get here and a whole package, a whole logical, well-rounded package, that's a good price. That's where it should be. So I'm hopeful that either getting newer quote-unquote sim racers that are seeing RaceRoom or seeing this video potentially and getting interested in it. I hope that's the case. And I also hope that folks that have been around sim racing for a long time saw when RaceRoom came out, didn't really do it for them for a number of very good reasons, to be fair, when this game first came out. We'll now see it, as I brake harder this time, and have interest and pick it up. So I really do think it has a lot of positives. And I really do enjoy coming and just doing this offline racing. Out of my way. So with that, and again, the AI challenging me, showing off what it's like to get grass on the tires, I think that'll do it for this video, talking about triple screen support coming to RaceRoom and all the other recent updates and the latest very large build of the game. I'm going to keep driving, but I'll sign off for now. As always, thank you for watching Inside Sim Racing. Like, subscribe, check out isrtv.com, our popular forums, Amazon affiliate links in the description, along with that link to the Sector 3 Studios forums. You know the deal. And as always, thank you for watching.
20 minutes later.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Suck it, AI.